Y'all know what time it is. It is the In the Scope podcast with your boy, Joshua M. Hicks, senior writer for War Media. And we got a jam-packed show today. We got Josh Frydman coming on later on to talk even more about Bears and Bulls. But just to top off the show, I had to get this brother on my podcast, man. He's the big deal. He's doing great things in the industry. And not just that, he's just a good friend and a good mentor overall, man. Everybody give it up for Jarrett Payton, who's doing big things at WGN TV. What's up, man?
Man, I'm good, bro. I'm just trying to calculate all this stuff that's going on, especially, in Bears country, man. We just trying to figure it out. A lot of questions going on, man, but appreciate you for having me on.
Hey, no problem at all. I appreciate you for coming on my show, especially since you guys over at WGN have treated me well, especially when we had sports feed.
Yeah.
Y'all treated me well over there, man, and it's only right to return the favor. In the industry, it's just glad to have you on board and talk about something that's so close to your heart. With the Bears, obviously because we know you have the history in your family with Walter Payton, and the fact that you grew up in the Bears, family, and the fact that this organization very well. Please explain to me what's going on, because honestly, this doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you have Ted Phillips, Matt Nagy, the McCaskey family, all pretty much saying, and Ryan Pace, they're all saying, "Oh, we're making progress," and I'm like, "What progress? Your QBs, you can't solve your QB problem. Defense got worse since Chuck Picano got there. No disrespect, in my opinion, I think the defense got worse, and you don't have no offense. Matt Nagy's this offensive guru, and it just seems like you can't get nothing flowing, and yet that's progression. I don't know. Help me understand this situation going on with the Bears right now, man.
Dude, Jay, I'm like, it's hard, man. I can't sell you on this, bro. I really can't. I can't sell you on, what you heard in the press conference. I just can't. Like, it's tough. It's tough to sit and watch, this team and this organization over time where, you question just, where the mindset is and what they're really striving for. The one thing that I will say, and I know that he gets a lot of flack and the family gets a lot of flack, but the McCaskey family, they're amazing. Like, they're amazing people. And just with my interaction with them and, what we've been through with them, with my dad and just, life after my dad and our relationship. George is an amazing man. And, I think he really does want to win. Honestly, I do. I know it sounds crazy and people are like, no, man, the McCaskey. Nah, I think he wants to win. I think they're still trying to figure out the best way to go about it, and they're trying to figure it out. And you know, sometimes when you're a businessman, you put your trust into people, and you're especially when it's something that you're passionate about. And, the Bears, this is their baby. The Chicago Bears are their baby, man. They didn't. You look at now a lot of these other organizations now. You see these owners, right? They come from owning Walmart or owning Target, all these other stuff. Like, the McCaskies made their money with the Bears. That's how they grew their wealth. And so, over time they've tried to figure it out. And I think, looking to Ryan Pace, they thought that he was the answer to be able to fix all those problems. And now that you look back on it 6 years later, there's still a lot of question marks there. And, a lot of the questions I think people wanted answers to during the press conference and the season end press conference, they didn't get. And some of the things that, everybody said on that Zoom call just didn't make sense. And it's going to leave a lot of question marks moving forward. But you have to look at the situation this organization is by looking at a lot of it. And this is just me, a lot of it going back to that Mitchell Trubisky draft. I mean, that's the part that Bears fans will never get over. Like, Ryan Pace at that moment trying to figure out what he was trying to do, if he was trying to be the smartest guy in the room, if he didn't do his homework. Because it's either or. It's either you didn't do your homework to be able to understand that there were some other quarterbacks that you should have You should have talked to all three of them. All the three that were there, Watson, Mahomes, Trubisky, sit down with them, put them on the big board, tell them to break down plays. Have your coaching staff in there trying to figure out. If it was me, that's what I would have done, because I would have want the guy that was going to show me, holy cow, he knows everything and he already has it. We can work with him. We'll figure out a way to be able to surround him with the tools to be successful. And from looking at how the game plan was in 2020, especially when we saw Mitchell Trubisky become successful at the end of the season after getting his starting job back, a lot of it was tailoring the game to things that fit him, moving out of the pocket, cutting down half the field so you don't have to make too many decisions. If that was the case, they should have been doing that from the beginning to get him going. And when Matt Nagy came in, that should have been the thing too. But Matt Nagy was he was already on 202 in the algebra, right? And Trubisky was still on 101. And they try to kind of fit him in there and say, oh, you got to be here. And it just didn't work out. And so, the fact now that we're sitting here and we're looking at our situation in the NFL, if you do not have a starting quarterback, like a good starting quarterback, you're not winning anything. You're just not winning anything. And so we're behind the 8 ball now, because after selecting Mitchell Trubisky, then you started to kind of piece it together. What you had Mike Glennon and now you got Nick Foles. You were having to go out. I want to understand why you weren't drafting quarterbacks even after that draft with Trubisky. Like, nowadays, you got to draft quarterbacks. You have to. And the organizations that are successful, let's be honest, I don't even need to talk about all the organizations. I only need to talk about one. And let's go back to when they were their dynasty. That was the New England Patriots. What did they do? Even though they had the GOAT, Tom Brady, what did they do? They were still drafting quarterbacks. They were still developing quarterbacks. And that goes to show, even if you have a player like Tom Brady, who could go down as the greatest quarterback of all time, and you're still drafting quarterbacks. And look at some of the ones that kind of fractured off that had success, whether it was Jimmy Garoppolo or maybe I think Castle was there, if I'm not mistaken. Like Jacoby Brissett, all these, they were drafting quarterbacks. Ryan Pace didn't do that after the Trubisky draft. And so now you're left in a situation with only Nick Foles on the roster. And now you got to figure out where you're going to be drafting, and you're probably not going to be able to get one of those top tier quarterbacks. So now you're looking at being in the same situation that you were in 2020.
Do I dare ask this question? Do the Bears try to find a way to right wrongs and bring Deshaun Watson to the Chicago?
Oh man, I was thinking about that. I was hearing a lot of people talk about that. Full disclosure, that was my favorite. That when I was looking at all those quarterbacks in that draft, I watched Mahomes, but I really didn't watch Mahomes, like Texas Tech. I just didn't watch those games, but I knew he had some crazy ability, and I knew his pedigree and where he came from. So I was like, man, this dude he's pretty nice. He has the opportunity. But the dude that I did see a lot of was Watson. And I saw him in national championship games just like everybody else. And it hurt me because I heard a lot of people knocking him, the higher ups, the people that, have the biggest megaphones, just talking about, he can't throw the deep ball, he can't do this. And I was like, wait a minute. All you have to do is turn on his 2 national championship games that he played against Alabama to see what this dude is all about. I don't need to watch any other games. For what? That's all I need to do is watch those games. And in the big games, he played phenomenal, and you knew he had it in him. And, listening to him after how he breaks down defenses and how he talks in his press conferences, he's not just giving you the, oh, yeah, we got to get better. He's breaking it down saying, yo, on that play, man, the safety came down. I knew I had a hot read. And so what I did was he's like a coach on the football field. And the great teams and the great quarterbacks, they have that ability to do that. Not to knock on Mitchell Trubisky. He's just not there yet. He's not there. And so I think about Watson. I think Watson really he's in his feelings about the Bears not selecting him. I think it would be a great fit here in Chicago for him. I'm not a numbers guy and draft capital guy and all that stuff. I just know how to play football. I don't know like what you need to give up to be able to get him. But the Bears they're not in that situation right now. They got other needs, Jay. So it's hard to say, yeah, do whatever it takes to be able to make it happen. I can't tell you how to do that, but I think if you're having to give up a lot, you're also going to be he could be in that same situation that he is in Houston when you talk about team wise. Like, like you got to be able to put things around him and be able to put those pieces around him. And there's a lot of question marks about what happens to Allen Robinson. Is he still around? There's just so many other questions and things that you have to fulfill to be able to be better and to be able to contend, not just at a league level. I'm talking about just in your own division, because Aaron Rodgers ain't slowing down right now, and you got to be able to keep up with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and the Bears aren't there yet. And I just don't know if you'd have to give up too much. But just imagine if Watson could come here to Chicago, if he could find a way to be successful here and win a championship, man, like, dude, he would never have to pay for nothing. Like, he wouldn't even have to pay for nothing if he went out of town. Like, people would take care of his bills if he left out of town to go places. Everybody always talks about, like, you win in that city, like, you never have to pay for nothing. Like, Chicagoans, if he was like, yeah, when he got done and he won a championship here and he moved to, like, California, they still would be paying his dinner bills in California from Chicago. They'd be Venmoing him money, dude. That's what it would mean. But this city has got to figure out how to, and this organization has to figure out how to get that position right, because they haven't got it right yet. And we've seen it now in the NFL. If you can't get it right, no matter how good your defense is, you're not winning anything. It's a quarterback-driven league, and they got to figure out how to get that position right and solidify it, so it can really give this organization an opportunity to truly make a run.
Everybody listening right now, you're listening to Jarrett Payton. Jarrett, you mentioned that obviously the Bears have a lot of things they got to work out. Aside from the quarterback, like you mentioned, Allen Robinson. I mean, you didn't sign the dude when you had the chance to extend him, and he deserved every penny that you need. I think he deserved every penny. You don't know what's going on with your QB situation. Your defense is somewhat derailing. What are the needs that you think, if you were in the Bears front office management, what do you think are the needs that they need to address first to improve this roster over the
Well,
offseason?
I mean, first let's start with the Al Robinson thing. I mean, it's mind blowing, because I don't understand it. Since he put on a Bears uniform, he's just been nothing but special and showing that he can be dependable on a week-to-week basis. Doesn't talk a lot, but has a lot of production on the football field. We saw that in his 2020 stats. It's hard to find number one receivers in the NFL. It really is. It's really, really hard. They got one. They have one in their possession right now that's there, and they didn't take care of that when they probably should have. And so I don't know. I just have a feeling in my heart he's not going to be back. You know how many other teams are going to want his services? Mess around and not, you didn't sign him and take care of him early on. Mess around and see if he goes to Green Bay and watch what happens. Your Bears fans are going to be very, very salty in their feelings, because just imagine what a guy like Aaron Rodgers would do with another receiver like that. Come on, man. And Adams, come on, man. But we'll have to see how that plays itself out. To me, it comes down to how you have to win football games and how you have to win championships. And it starts, other than the quarterback, next thing you got to do is you got to address offensive line. You got to make sure that your offensive line is top notch. And seeing what the Bears did, late in the year, trying to figure out, and they were dealing with injuries, during the year, especially early on. And then, by the end of the season, they started to figure out how to be able to put, Mustafa at center and moving Cody Whitehair to guard and just trying to mix things around a little bit. They got to figure out how to stack that. Tackle is another position you got to start thinking about too. And I think interior on both sides, offensively and defensively, you gotta add more. And we know you got Mac. You gotta figure out another issue this season, especially late in the season. If you take away the Texans game, is sacks, getting to the quarterback. And I think the lack of, we know Mac, when you look at his numbers, pressures on the quarterback are there. Getting to the quarterback and getting the quarterback on the ground and getting those sacks is, to me, one of the biggest issues. And if you want to be able to help out the back end of your defense, you got to get that right. You have to get that right, because that helps out guys like Eddie Jackson, and who, if you talk to him, he'd probably tell you this was not the year that he was expecting in 2020. He knows he has to get better. We all saw it by watching his play. But you help out your defensive backs and those ability to be able to get those turnovers. And I think that's where a lot of people want to put it on Pagano. And listen, Chuck's my guy, man. I talked to him yesterday. He knows, man, like it wasn't this wasn't the season that they hoped to be. And 2018 that's a hard benchmark to kind of clear or be at that same level of how that defense was in 18. From turnovers, they were a turnover machine. And then also not even just creating turnovers, they were also turning those into points and taking them back, pick sixes, all this stuff. We knew that wasn't going to happen in 19, and we hoped that they could get back to that in 20. So the problems that you have on the offensive side of the ball, now you're starting to see the defense. A lot of these guys, man, we got a list of phenomenal players on that defense. But another issue is they've been on the field a lot over the last 2 years. They played a lot of football because your offense hasn't been able to extend drives and put points on the board, which has put them back on the football field. And so, people always talk about the decline of this defense. Man, I saw this coming. If your offense can't do nothing, your defense is going to suffer. Try playing this game and being on the field, but more than you hope you're on the field, man. It wears at you. It wears at you. Your body, injuries start happening. It just is what it is. And so interior-wise, I would focus there trying to figure out how to dominate the line of scrimmage on the offense and defensive side and kind of go from there. And you got to figure out that quarterback position. But those would be my areas of need. And then you'll have to see what happens with Allen Robinson, because if he's not here, now you got to fill that void. And the number one receiver is hard to fill.
Yeah, I also think at the same time, though, like you mentioned, the on the defensive side, attacking the quarterback and bringing pressure. Robert Quinn to me was a disappointment this year. You signed him to a big time contract, and pairing him with Khalil Mack, you thought that was going to be the duo that's going to really take that defense to the next level. And both, it kind of derailed a little bit. So, yeah, it's just something that you really have to consider moving forward. And since Pagano was the defensive coordinator, we know he's retiring. Who do you think will be the right guy to replace that and maybe get at least that duo back together working to fix that defense and get it back to somewhat of a level that it could have been like it has been a couple of years?
Jay, I'm be honest with you, I have no clue. I haven't even studied of who could be that person for you to be able to fix that defense. It's rough. It's tough. Names of guys, I have no names. And I'd be honest with you, I haven't even started to dive into who could take that spot over, because I was so waiting to hear this press conference and see what the Bears were going to do, with the two main spots at GM and head coach. In my opinion, I probably think it's going to be someone that Matt Nagy is familiar with, who he has some type of relationship with, because that would make sense. for him. I don't see him going to get somebody that's just kind of out there, or I feel like we've seen him do that, bringing in guys like, Bill Lazor and these guys and Filippo, guys that he has a relationship with. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's someone that he has that history with that's going to take over that defense. But it's got to be someone that has some type of fire and has that respect, because there are a lot of guys on that defense that, that have that pedigree of that greatness inside of them. It's going to take someone to be able to be very, very special to be able to get that out.
In the press conference, it was kind of it wasn't fully aware of whether or not Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy were going to get these extensions, and they made it pretty much known that the QB situation isn't solidified. Um, do you really believe that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are truly the future of what the Bears need to build this team moving forward?
Hmm. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I'm kind of like every other Bears fan who's watching, and it's weird because you have to balance of covering the team and also being a fan, and it's tough on me sometimes. I really believe from the beginning that Matt Nagy was going to be that person, and we saw it. We saw it early on. We saw it in his first year, man. He had that ability to be able to, like, he had all these catchphrases. This team was like, I mean, it was just 18 was different, man. And it's hard because I think about here in Chicago, it's like pretty much similar to, what Joe Madden went through. Like, you remember when Joe Madden early on, like, you looked at the Cubs, man, and how much fun they were having, and they were taking these road trips, and everything was like, it was like, wearing your pajamas on the road, bringing in zoo animals to the park, and like all these things. And then as you saw him before he left town, those things weren't prevalent anymore. You didn't see that stuff anymore. And it's like, how do you recreate what you did the year before, but change it with a new twist? And I think he's had a hard time because his main focus has been on the offense and trying to fix it. Now, I will give him credit too. I don't I don't think that he has had the quarterback to be able to do the things that he wants to do. But on the flip side as well, we've seen, I don't know if he is the offensive guru that how it was sold to us and to Bears fans, to the media, to the city of Chicago. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to do to be able to show, but he doesn't have a lot of time. He doesn't have a lot of time. So I don't know. I don't know. It's going to take a year. I do give him credit as well for, figuring out after that 6-game losing streak and getting his team back on track and having them focus, even though the back end, other than the Packer game, I mean, it was pretty easy when you're looking at going up against some not so good defenses and you figure it out. But he did. Instead of his team folding and saying, "Oh, we're done," they still had fight. And so I'm hoping that that carries over into this next season and they can figure it out. Uh, Ryan Pace, I'm not sure, man. I don't know. I mean, I talk to Bears fans every day. They tell me the exact same thing. They love what Ryan Pace has done in later rounds of finding guys, the Tariq Cohens, all these other guys, Jalen Johnson, like all these guys that they love to see. But then it comes down to the one thing that they can't get out of their head. And that's that, those first round picks. And that's hard. And the biggest one is the one that, he went all in on. And that was Trubisky. And Nagy and Pace in the press conference didn't talk about, they wouldn't dive into the whole Trubisky thing. They just said they love the fact of how he was progressing and how he got better. But if you listen to the brass, Mr. McCaskey and Ted Phillips, they came out and said that they haven't got the position right. So that goes to show to me that Mitchell Trubisky won't be in a Bears uniform next season. And so Both guys got a year left to try to figure this thing out, and it's going to be hard because you're going to be patchworking. I mean, you don't have all the draft capital to be able to make it happen. So you're going to have to basically do and have the same recipe that you had the year before, trying to go out and get some guys to come in, and you got to hope that guys hit. And that doesn't always happen. So I think it's a short leash for both guys. And I mean, if they get off to a rocky start at the beginning of the season, I think anything's possible.
You talked about how you believe that Mitch Trubisky, according to the McCaskies and how they explained it in the press conference and their tone in the press conference, that Mitch Trubisky's not coming back next season. If that's the case, you're stuck with Nick Foles, and Nick Foles, we know that he can be very sporadic when it comes to his game. So do you really, if you're the Bears, do you really try to stick it out with this guy that you're paying $28 million a year for, that served as a backup just to get by?
You're going to have to for right now, unless we see what they do. See how, I don't know, honestly, because of back-to-back 8-8 seasons, and you're going to sell the owner, like, we can do this. There had to be a conversation, and they must have a plan. Honestly, they must have a plan of where they're going to try to get a quarterback. And they sold, George on what they're going to do, and he probably felt like, okay, I like that. Let's run this thing back. Because other than that, if you're picking somewhere in 20 in the first round, like you're not getting a really good quarterback. And I don't feel like they're going to be able to give up enough to be able to go up and get the guy that they want. So that's probably going to be in free agency, or where they're going to try to address this situation. But now you're paying more money. That's more money at that position with Nick Foles. And if you go out and get somebody else, regarding who's going to be, free a free agent on the market, or somebody that you got to figure out that. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make it work, but it's so much easier when you look at, the NFL now. You're looking at these quarterbacks that are coming out of college and starting right away, and teams are looking for you to be successful right away, because it's easier to be able to maintain and do things money-wise when you got a quarterback that is on their rookie deal. So it's asking a lot of these rookie quarterbacks to come in. With veterans, you got to hope it, but still, as a vet, you're getting a vet. Like last night, I was thinking a guy like Matt Ryan, right? That's not the future, though, man. Like that's just a stopgap. It's like, okay, we're gonna try until we figure this out. No, like, you got to start thinking about the future of that position. And I think that's what a lot of my friends who I talk to, that's what they want to see. And I'll tell you this: Mitchell Trubisky is he's a great dude, man. He really is. He's a great dude. I got nothing bad to say about him as a person. I won't even knock his game. My bad. Hold up. I won't even knock his game. But he got thrown into a situation that he didn't ask for. He didn't ask for all that. The Bears decided to do that. And, you also have to have the right people in place to be able to help a young man be successful. And I think when he got here early on, he didn't have that on the offensive side to be able to grow. You look at some of these other quarterbacks, guys like Mahomes, and, get a chance to be able to learn and take some time and have the right coaching around him to be able to figure him out and know his game. Mitch didn't have that. And so everybody wants to put the blame on Mitch. I can't put it fully on Mitch, but he knows that this run in Chicago didn't go as planned and how he had hoped. And, my whole hope is, if he does go somewhere else, that he gets an opportunity to be able to have, man, people calling me, man. Everybody wants to get in. I just think he's got to, I hope he goes somewhere where he has an opportunity to really show his talents and learn and show everybody in Chicago that he can play the game of football, because we saw flashes here in Chicago. It just, the consistency wasn't there.
Everybody listening right now, you're listening to Jarrett Payton, WGN News, sports anchor, GN Sports TV, co-host. He's the real deal. And because of that, Jarrett, what's you, obviously you're doing a lot of things going. You got a lot of things going on with GN Sports and everything. What's next for you, man? Like, what's next for you? Not just in that realm of that show, but life outside of that. Because I mean, you are a father, you're a husband. You have a life as well. So what's the next steps that you're taking? That me and my audience can look forward to moving forward.
I think what everybody's looking. I don't know if everybody's looking, but I know for me, it's ownership, man. I'm looking at ownership. I want to own stuff. I want to own my own. I want to have a piece of the game. So for me, everything that I do now is really just trying to work is work, and I love work. I love my job. WGN is amazing, and I feel like I could do this for a long time. But I also am focused on outside and being a businessman. Me and my boys just opened up a restaurant in St. Charles called Flagship on the Fox. So I would like to expand that, take that model, not just in the Chicago area, but take that model down the line after this pandemic and move it around the country, because I think we have something special. And yeah, just more ownership. I just want to, I want to keep investing and just keep growing, making money. So at one point in time that I can step away and just chill, man. Because I got two kids. I got 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and both my kids are very athletic. And I just really, honestly, what excites me is watching them and watching them grow, watching them play sports, watching them do what they do. And I just want to have that ability as I grow up and get older, that I can have that freedom to not have to be grinding so hard, but put the work in now. So once you put the work in now, hopefully down the line, you can kind of enjoy uh, and benefit from some of that hard work that you put in, because man, we only get one life, man. We don't even know how long that's going to be. So you got to take advantage of every single second that you have. And so, um, you know, I just want to keep making my own and keep stacking chips, so I can say one day. I tell my wife all the time, when our kids get older, man, and go to college, man, that we peacing out, man. I'm going out west where it's warm. I'm getting tired of this cold weather, bro. I get tired of this cold weather, but everybody should want that, though. Honestly, everybody wants ownership. Whether it's in their podcast, whether that's in the job, whatever it is, all want it. And if you're not striving to own certain things, then what are you doing it for? I mean, you want to be able to call the shots at some point. You want to be able to say, use your thoughts and your ideas and turn that into something. And so, like, that's what I'm doing, man. Create your brand, be your brand, know your brand, expand your brand, and figure out how to be able to make your money work for you at some point. And if you can do that, bro, that's everything to me. So that's why I think I'm grinding so hard right now, not sleeping as much, but it'll all pay off in the long run.
Yeah, it most definitely will. And I gotta support your restaurant, man. I gotta support the black owned businesses for sure. And I know that you're continuing to do big things. So any way that not just War Media, but me personally, if I could help come out and help support in any way, shape, or form, or whatever assistance that you need, that you feel I can be expertise to, I really want to offer that to you, and I really want to help out in any way I can, because we have to support each other,
Got to,
especially
man. We got to.
especially in that Black and the African American community. So I really want to support in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
And
man.
with that being said, where can everybody follow you on social media?
They can follow me at Payton Sun, PaytonSun, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah, you'll just be seeing a lot of pictures of my kids, man, and my tweets and all that. I've kind of scaled back a little bit during the pandemic. Honestly, like And before the pandemic, I was always just going crazy. I was tweeting all the time. I was doing all these things and, Instagram stories and all that. But being in the house and like my routine is so different now. Like I'm not doing the crazy things that I was doing and like, being places, going out, doing all this stuff. I'm not doing that anymore. So for me, it's like really gave me a time to reflect on, just doing more things for me and stepping back a little bit and, thinking a little bit more and not putting everything out there in the Twitter sphere and it's actually been, man, it's been just very refreshing. I'm gonna be honest with you, but you know, I find my times where I get my Twitter fingers going, man, and I get back at it, and I'm doing what I gotta do. But I just hope my biggest thing right now is just staying safe, man. Just staying safe. So everybody who's listening, make sure you do all the things that you need to do to protect yourself. Wear your mask, social distance. Because speaking from somebody that had COVID in December, it is no joke. You do not want this. I'm still dealing with like respiratory issues, and I didn't even really have them during my 14 days of quarantine. I didn't even have anything, and I'm dealing with it now. So and I'm super in shape. I'm in better shape than I was when I was playing football. So just to know that a healthy person like myself, a former athlete, takes care of himself, that this thing can hit you like that, dude, it can hit anybody. So just make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do to protect yourself, the people around you, and just wear your mask, man. It's real simple. That's real. That's if I could say anything on this podcast, that is the one thing I think is the most important. Man, take care of yourself. Take care of the people that are around you.
No, that's real. That's real. I'm glad you're doing better and you're, continuing to take care of yourself as you are surviving COVID as well, man. That's a really big deal. And everyone listening right now, you can also follow me on social media at Josh M. Hicks Media on both Instagram and Twitter. Yes, I changed the Twitter and Instagram handles. I got to improve the brand and be more adult like nowadays. So therefore, I had to change the Twitter and the Instagram handles. So you can follow me at all one platform, all one name, Josh M. Hicks Media. Jarrett, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. I know you're a busy guy, but to hear your expertise was very well needed. And for our audience, I know they enjoyed it as well. I can't wait to continue to continue, keep in touch and connect with you. And of course, support your other endeavors that you got going on, man. You're doing really big things. And like I said, any way I can help out, I'll love to help out in any way, shape, or form. And you got to get me back on GNTV Sports, man. You got to get me back
All
on
right, man.
GN
We
for
we
sure
gotta
down the
get you
line.
on there, bro.
Yeah, but for sure, man. We'll make it happen. That being said, man, thank you. You continue to have a good rest of your day. And everyone listening right now, do not go anywhere because Josh Frydman will be coming up next to talk more in-depth analysis about the Bears, as well as this new upcoming core with the Bulls. This new direction is very interesting so far, but we'll get his expertise on the Bulls and moving forward as they start this new upcoming season. So don't miss out. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.